I guess I'll give an overview sort of summary. When we talk about finance, when we're discussing computers, we talk about the total cost of ownership. So I'm going to go buy a computer. I buy a computer for $400. And then I turn it on when I get to my house, and every time I flip the switch, it costs me money. The fact that it's generating heat inside of my house causes me to have to refrigerate my house, right? Because I don't want to live with the heat that CPU is putting out, because I overclocked it to 4.2 gigahertz, and so I could play some crazy game. But the point is that the total cost of ownership has a lot of different aspects to it, and we have 3 of those aspects with us here.
So yeah, I'm Mike Rowan. One of the things that was interesting for me when we started talking about this session and talking about economics, and one of the things I really like about sort of doing working in the green space, especially in the IT world, is unlike at home, like so in my home life, if I want to be green, if I want to do the right thing for the environment, I want to stand up, I usually am signed up and know that it means it's going to cost me some dough. That's like, I'm actually going to have to pay a vig for that, and the ROI is going to be upside down, and I'm going to have to do it because I believe in doing it. But what we find in the business and the way operations works and the way companies work is that almost every project that can be labeled as green, as a reduction in power consumption, as a conservation of power consumption, is so right side up from a business perspective that it's a moneymaker from that standpoint. So it's really easy to have these conversations, and what you can start doing is the green part of the story actually becomes the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. So to give you some examples, today you can go in and have a server that's running in a data center. And most of those servers today, especially if they're more than a couple of years old, you're spending more money power and cooling those servers in usually about 18 months, 16 months than you did to buy the server. So whatever you spent on that server, you're spending more money inside of 18 months to power and cool it typically. When we go into a data center, there's anywhere from 10 to 30% of the servers and equipment that's running in that data center aren't actually doing anything useful for the business. They're just running. They're costing that company, you know, the average server is somewhere around $1,000, $1,200 a year to power and cool, but it could be anywhere from $400 or $500 a year to $4,000 or $5,000 a year to power and cool per server. So you go into a data center that has 10,000 servers, and you can almost guarantee that somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500 of those servers aren't actually doing anything for the business. So rather than sort of walk up to your CIO or walk up to your CEO and say, I want to turn off a third of the equipment in the lab, probably is not going to happen, right? But if you go up and you say, there seems to be a whole lot of equipment on the floor that's not doing a lot of work, and we're spending about, $300,000 a year to power and cool that stuff, and you have a project on the list here that's basically not getting funded because your budget line is here. Why don't I go do this project and demonstrate this with 10% of that equipment? I'll virtualize that equipment. We won't actually take the IT operating system off the floor. We'll just basically consolidate it onto a smaller piece of equipment. We'll cut the cost. I'll show you a 10% return. We'll track that over 6 months, and then we can go from there, to the next step. And what you're going to get, Mr. CIO, is I'm going to be able to fund a bunch of projects you're having to say no to right now. I'm going to be able to let you hire headcount because it's all operational costs, things like that.
Hi, I'm Bobby Klein with Green Analytics Incorporated, and what we do is more on the facility side for all of your business operations. We go into a corporation, their business office. For example, we could come into the Ritz-Carlton here or your own data center and do an audit, zero cost up front, and see where exactly you are losing money from your energy costs and where they are going from, whether it's from your HVAC units, where you have pockets of heat near the ceiling and pockets of cool air, and also in a data center, you would have the pockets of heat also where the servers are ran. Then we also analyze the lighting aspects and how you can transition into more energy efficient measures, whether it be with LED light bulbs or CFLs. And from there, we can propose to you guys a plan of savings of reducing your energy costs by 30% at least. We've worked with a number of corporations, and by transitioning their lighting alone, have saved 38% on their energy costs.
My name is Ed Stucane. My company is called Planet ROI. We've been around since 1991, and we are in the business of IT asset value recovery. And it's not necessarily a sexy business. The speakers this morning, Jim Duffy and Mr. Shetty, talked about all the processes and procurement processes that they're going through to get more efficient equipment in and to keep a green orientation with what they're doing with their organizations throughout the government and throughout the state here in Virginia. And they both said it's touched upon some point. And when it comes to the end of life of that equipment, what is our process to maintain a green profile? And we look at that green profile as one that is both green in terms of the environmental path things have to take, but really in the money that has to come back to an organization.